Joining me, Jack Berkman, Republican strategist and host of Behind the Curtain with Jack Berkman. Catch him every Saturday night on the Radio American Network and Sunday afternoons at 2 on WMAL in Metro D.C. Also, Mark Levine, nationally syndicated radio talk show host and the Democratic nominee for the 45th District in the Virginia House of Delegates. Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump took the spotlight from the very beginning of this week's first GOP debate after a question about whether or not he would run as an independent if he's not the party's nominee.
I cannot say I have to respect the person that if it's not me, the person that wins. If I do win and I'm leading by quite a bit, that's what I want to do. I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent.
But the hits didn't stop there. In the most viewed primary debate ever, the Donald continued to throw punches.
Our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid. And the Mexican government is much smarter, much sharper, much more cunning. And they send the bad ones over because they don't want to pay for them. They don't want to take care of them. Why should they when the stupid leaders of the United States will do it for them?
All right, Jack, what did you make of Mr. Trump's performance? He may have stolen the show, but did he win the debate?
I'll tell you, Morris, I'm getting close to an endorsement of Mr. Trump. I said I wouldn't endorse anybody. I'm getting real close. I'm warming up to the Donald. I think he did fantastically well. I actually was very proud of his answer. He gave the right answer to whether he would challenge the nominee. It was kind of a convoluted explanation, but that's the right answer. I think the right explanation would have been you always have to do what's right for the country at the time, country ahead of party. Trump is the only one on the stage with any charisma. I don't think there's another person on that stage with charisma, even in his league. The real question for Trump, Morris, we're talking about this off air, when do you turn the electricity off? Roger Stone, his great strategist, obviously they want to keep it going. Trump has the ability to be a subtle, serious, sophisticated. He's a very bright guy. He's choosing not to do that. In some sense, he plays a character of himself. He wants to keep the party going.
Mark Levine, he needed to kind of tone it down for his summation remarks. That way he could have won me and a lot of Americans, but it was the same bombastic Trump even up until the very end, don't you think?
Well, first of all, that's not who Donald Trump is. Tone it down. That's not what he is. That's not what he's trying to do.
But even in the summer, your final remarks, you know, hit it home, be different, offer some perspective and some specifics.
You got to remember, Mars, he's Mr. Red Meat. That is why he's winning. He appeals to people who are angry, people who are more uneducated, people who really want to hit back against the establishment, and that's what he does. He's hitting hard. I don't know, maybe a year from now, if he's still doing okay, he
Mark,
may tone it down then.
Though, see, the numbers don't bear that out, Mark. See, here's the problem. The numbers don't bear it out.
If you look at Trump's role. 25%, he is the reality star of the race.
You can say, Democrats are running around saying, well, Trump appeals to bigots and stupid people and things like that. When you hit 25%, you'll probably be higher than that when the new polls come out on Monday. When you hit 25%, you're much broader than bigots in the Republican Party.
He appeals to angry people. I'll tell you, there are things he said that appealed to me. A lot of his attacks on the establishment, attacks against money in politics. I really like to hear that. He supports universal health care.
Look, I agree with both of you.
This is a guy who had some good points.
I just wanted to hear more serious talk when you wrap up a 2-hour debate. I wanted you to hit a home run.
He's not a serious
Morris, you're right. Morris, I think you're right on the money. You ask exactly the right question, and you're right about that. The only issue is, again, when do you turn off the electricity? At some point, if Trump wants the nomination, if he wants to be president, he's going to have to be that subtle, serious, sophisticated, specific guy.
That's never happened, Jack.
Well,
but
the time to turn it off was the end of the debate. All right, while the debate touched on illegal immigration and the economy, candidates also expressed their views on social issues.
I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. Because somebody doesn't think the way I do doesn't mean that I can't care about them or I can't love them. So if one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them and I would accept them.
Many applauded John Kasich's remarks, saying he struck a chord with young Republicans who increasingly support same-sex marriage. Mark, what do you make of his comments? Did he strike the right tone?
I think so. I actually think John Kasich was the clear winner of last night's debate. He seemed to be the only adult on the stage, the only one talking about actual compassion and talking about the fiscally conservative aspects of compassion, that when you treat people fairly, it actually saves money. It's fascinating how far the Republican Party has changed on same-sex marriage. Just 4 years ago, they were booing a gay surrogate service member, a gay soldier who'd served his country. They were booing him on stage.
Yeah,
now
the
they support
problem is,
same-sex marriage.
Kasich,
I think John Kasich is reaching out to the
he did
people
very
who
well.
actually care about
You're
gay
right.
people in this
Kasich
country.
did very well among prospective Democratic voters. The problem is he's involved in a Republican primary. Kasich actually started good and he closed very poorly. By praising Donald Trump as the number 10 man, you win strategically when you praise the front runner because he's not yet competing with a front runner. It was a very smart move, but the business of getting into the gay issue, he should never have done that. Being
What do you mean he should never have done that? Are you saying he should have shunned his daughter?
It's not
That's not going
Mark,
to
I'm
win
not
votes
talking
in the Republican
substance.
Party.
You have to understand, I'm not talking substance, I'm talking politics. When you get
I'm
into
talking politics too. What I'm telling you is this
evangelicals
issue is
in Iowa,
past. This is an
evangelicals in
issue.
Iowa and South Carolina don't want to hear that. Politically, it was not smart.
All right, another hot topic was Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton and the controversy surrounding her campaign.
For the cyber attack with Russia the other day, it's sad to think right now, but probably the Russian and Chinese government know more about Hillary Clinton's email server than do the members of the United States Congress.
Got it, but that was pretty good. Other candidates continue to pounce on Hillary's honesty problem and her affiliation with President Obama. But Mark, did any Republican stand out as someone who could take on Hillary in a general election?
I didn't think so. I thought the likely Republican nominee, who I still insist is Jeb Bush, came off as basically boring and uninteresting, mostly because they didn't ask him any tough questions like they asked the other candidates. I don't think any of them showed they could take Hillary Clinton toe-to-toe. There were a few cheap shots, a few cheap lines. But we had Chris Christie being criticized for having asked Obama for aid for New Jersey. I mean, really cheap stuff. I want to see substance. Why don't they go after her policies? I think because they know her policies are popular.
Jack, maybe if you ran for president.
I haven't announced yet, Morris. I think Rand Paul and Chris Christie definitely improved their status. I look for both of them to move up. I think with that exchange, both men move up in the polls. I think Trump was a clear winner. I actually disagree with the majority of the commentariat on this. I think Rubio was a loser. I think Rubio, although he did so well, he speaks so well, he's almost a perfect guy. He looks too young, and he's too much unduly earnest. Rubio just doesn't have that wit. He doesn't have that charm, and I think you need that to be president.
I thought he brought some gravitas. What do you think, Mark?
Well,
I kind of liked Rubio.
This is one issue where I agree with Jack. Actually, that's exactly the word I used before the show. He's very earnest. I liked Rubio. I thought he actually came off very well. I disagree with a lot of what he has to say. But in a country where the rough and tumble of a wrestling match, you heard the audience, is what matters, and wit and tough punches, yeah, he didn't do a lot of that. What he came off was substantive, and I don't think Republicans want substance. I think they want the flashy attacks.
Rubio is actually close to being out of the race. He's only at 5%, which is about half of where even Ben Carson is. I think Rubio within a month could be out of this race.
I still think that he offered more gravitas than I was expecting out of him. All right, Jack, who was the biggest loser of the night?
Oh, biggest loser, really. It's hard to say more. So I think the winners, Trump, and then at a second tier, Rand Paul and Chris Christie, and really the whole rest of the field was a loser. I thought Scott Walker and Jeb Bush did particularly bad. Both of them come across as duds.
Mark, the biggest loser?
I think it was Scott Walker. I think what Scott Walker said, that he would let a woman die rather than let her have an abortion, that basically he preferred a fetus's life to a young mother. I think he lost a lot of people, even people who are pro-life.
All right, the next GOP debate, and there's Walker as we wrap this up. The next the debate takes place on the 16th, a month before Democrats plan to hit the stage for the first time. And former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley thinks it's a bad idea.
And I think we're hurting ourselves if we try to circle the wagons and limit debate. I mean, what is this, the World Wrestling Federation? This is the Democratic Party, and we need to have democratic debates about the solutions that will actually serve America's families.
It's not wrestling? I thought
Well,
it
it
was.
looked like wrestling last
Some
night.
analysts say the shortened debate period could be good, but it could also be disastrous if one of the candidates makes a mistake. Mark, do you think O'Malley is right? Why is your party waiting so late?
You know, there's going to be 6 Democratic debates. There are going to be 7 Republican debates. I don't think the difference between 6 and 7 matters much. Any candidate behind in the polls wants more debates. That's always true. Any candidate who's ahead doesn't want more debates. I actually think Jack will agree with me on this, and I don't think it has anything to do with Republicans or Democrats.
Well, I do agree with Mark. We have some agreement here, but presuming that Mark doesn't enter the Democratic primary, I think the likely Democratic nominee, Morrison, I said this 2 years ago, the likely Democratic nominee has not yet entered that race, and that's jumping Joe Biden, the vice president. Biden's an ambitious man. He's been running for president since 1988. He was knocked out because of the plagiarism thing. Really, since 1970, he's had this on his mind. Extremely ambitious
Joe Biden
man.
could challenge
Doesn't
Hillary,
wear it on his sleeve,
but
I predict.
I predict he won't enter the race, although I admit he might. And I admit if he does, it would be more of a challenge. I still think Hillary Clinton is the likely nominee, and Jeb Bush is the Republican nominee.
All right, let's move on. President Obama spent much of the week lobbying for his nuclear deal with Iran, but now incoming Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says he's against it. The White House already faces an uphill battle. Mark, could Schumer's stance cause Obama to lose his veto power?
I don't think so. I think even if the resolution passes to disapprove, President Obama will veto and there won't be a 2/3 override. To me, what Democrats like Schumer are doing, and I think it's actually good for the process, is they're encouraging President Obama to do unilateral things, much like Dennis Ross, in fact, wrote about in a very good Washington Post article everyone should read. There are unilateral things President Obama can do to make the deal stronger, and I think Democrats like Schumer are pushing him still to get a better deal. I think that's a good thing.
Now, Jack, if Republicans and some Democrats are able to topple this agreement, what's next? Won't your party be on the line to fix this? That seems like a lot of pressure.
I don't think so, Morris. I don't think the Republicans want anything to do with this. I think they have to. I don't think you'll have, there's got to be some kind of action in the Senate, but I think Republicans are going to do everything they can to kill this agreement. I don't think they want it to survive. I think that's the right policy.
Are they going to bomb Iran if it doesn't, Jack?
Yes, I think at the end of the day,
they are going to bomb Iran.
If you have a Republican,
bomb Iran, remember that?
If you have a Republican president, Morris, I think sooner or later you're going to come to the realization that the only way to stop a nuclearized Iran is with military force. There's no other way to do it.
Great. That'll help my 401k to start a war, but we'll see what happens. All right, before we go, let's circle back to the Hillary situation. While she was a topic of discussion during the GOP debate, Hillary was taking selfies with celebrities like Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. Mark, President Obama used a lot of star power in his campaigns. Can Clinton tap into Hollywood to boost her numbers?
Well, listen, the Republicans have all the billionaires and the polluters and the Koch brothers and all the ones who destroy the environment. And the only rich people that Democrats can reliably turn to tend out to be in Hollywood. That's our system. That's our system where money buys access. Frankly, like I said, that's the one thing I agree with Donald Trump last night. He said he wants to stop a system where money buys access. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump agree on that.
Jack,
Hillary,
last word.
The only good press Hillary can get these days is when she poses with Kim Kardashian, so I look for more of the same.
Jack Berkman, Republican strategist, Mark Levine, Democratic strategist, the best political panel on TV. Thanks to you both.
Thank you, Morris.
Thanks, Morris.
Thank you, Mark.